Hey guys, I'm Lindsay and welcome to Always Yarn First. This is episode 2 and this episode is entitled On a High. If you were with me the last episode, I mentioned that I'm going to be naming every episode off of a song that I love, and I will link it below. This week's song is On a High by Duncan Sheik. And the reason I entitled it this for this week is because after the feedback I got on the last episode, I am on a high. I got some great compliments. So thank you so much for watching and returning back. So I appreciate it. So this week we're going to start with what I'm wearing. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. I am wearing my Love Note. I finished this recently for Professor Pearl or Prof Pearl on YouTube. She had a knit along for the Love Note Love Cal. And so all of my notes, I obviously skipped the lace work on this. I did a few different things, and all of my notes are extensive in my Ravelry page, which I will link below. So let's get into what I've been working on the last 2 weeks. So you're not going to see everything I showed last time. The first thing I've been working on is my vanilla sock. I actually finished one. So it's a half object. This is a set by Woolberry Fiber Co. It is a berry sock set, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon, and the colorway Yellowstone. It came with the mini that you see here. And I think it's gorgeous. I'm making those for a friend. And I literally just finished that sock yesterday, so I have not even cast on the next one. So I probably will do that this weekend at some point. So that is whip number 1. Nothing much to say about that. Oh, I will say one thing. I feel like this might be the first time I have used an 80-20 for a sock. I feel like most of my socks I use a 75-25 blend. And for some reason I mentioned this last time that this sock was luxurious, and it truly is, but I feel like it's plumper. And last time when I showed it, I had actually started down from the cuff and got almost to the heel, and it just looked huge to me. So I usually do 64 stitches, and it just bothered me so much that I went ahead and ripped back to the cuff. And I cast on with 64, but I decided to pick up at 60 after the cuff and basically eliminate 1 stitch in each corner. So I eliminated 4 stitches. So the rest of the sock, I did this 60 stitches around. And I feel like this looks correct to me. So I haven't tried it on yet, and I'm making it for a friend. But it just looks right. I've made enough socks where this looked way better after I decreased it. So I'm curious if others who have used an 80-20 blend, if you've also had to either go down a needle or go down stitches, because that was the first time I've done that I've noticed. Or maybe just my gauge is changing. That could be it also. All right, so the second one, my second whip is, let me see, got a little bit of a mess here, is my crochet blanket I'm working on. So I mentioned last week I'm using row 1 minis, and I'm making Scrappy granny squares. So I've made 3 squares. So this is from a row 1 mini, and then I'm using I had gotten Knit Picks Bear yarn. I'm doing white on each end. So the row 1 minis come with 10 minis per month. They are 10 grams each. And I find it's the perfect amount to make a square. I have, from this color, I have this much left. So I think I need about 8 grams. That's for my gauge. And let me look what hook size I'm using for this. I have it right here. I am using a F hook or a 3.75 millimeter hook for this, for all my squares. So I just finished 3 more squares. That isn't super exciting, but if you saw my Instagram, it's going to be really hard to show, and I'm actually just going to throw up a picture, but I put together my first strip. So I have the white on the end, and then I'm just kind of attaching the colors of that month. So these are all the same dyer. Each month is one dyer, different colors. And then I'm finishing with another white. So I basically have 12 squares total across. And I decided not to weave in the end. I'm using the white. I'm just doing a whip stitch for that. And I decided to leave in the ends for now until I put another strip on top of it. I don't know if I need to, but for right now, what I'm going to do is do a bunch of these strips per month, and then each time I get a strip done, I'm just going to kind of put it away because it is a scrappy and I don't have control of the colors, which is fine. But like these ones, I did kind of put them together how I liked, and I thought they made the most sense possible. So, you know, some months you might get a dyer that is more neutrally colored. Some it's all speckles and all brights. So I kind of want to have a tiny bit of control on what I stack on top of each other. Because this is going to be a long-term project, as long as I, you know, do these where I put the strips together, then that takes away, you know, a good portion of the work. So I'm super excited about this. And I had posted when I was blocking it, and some people had asked me about it. So I thought I'd show it. I have a couple currently on my blocking board. I have 3 here. I wet them this morning. I kind of separated them. I've been having them in front of the fan to dry. So I got this on Amazon, and I was looking it up, and I couldn't really find a name. On here it says Easy Crochet in the corner. So I don't know if that's the brand name or what, but I do have a link below that will link exactly to where I got it on Amazon. It has gone up in price, but you can go on. When I was looking for them, I went on Etsy and Amazon and just typed in crochet blocking board, and that's how I found them. And this came with the little pegs and everything, so I'm doing this to kind of make sure they're all uniform before I stitch them together. And it worked really well. In fact, there was a couple little mistakes on my other ones, and after I blocked them like this and stitched them, they were great. They were really great. So I'm really having fun with this because these take no time at all to make, and so they're really fun. I was playing a board game with a friend last night, and I was making a square as I was playing. So super fun. Not much yarn to take with you. Awesome to do. Okay, so I've only worked on 2 other things. I've been trying to focus on a couple specific things. So let me show this one first. So last podcast, I had talked about my Alei shawl, and I said how for me, this was my perfect knitting because it was just different enough where it was interesting, but still so easy to do without thinking about it. And I said I needed to work on it more. So I did. And you can see, let's see, my progress keeper where I was last time with the little peas. And as far as my progress keepers go, before I get asked a question about it, I never remember where I got them, But I have linked below basically the 4 places I get most of my progress keepers. And the food ones are usually, let's see, they're usually Sucre Miniatures or Little Bitty Delights is where I get most of the ones that are going to be like food and beverage, pretty much. So it's probably definitely one of those. I don't recall though, because a lot of these I've had for so long. But anyways, the Alei shawl. So this is worked up with a 3 skein set I had got from Barnyard Knits in their merino nylon fingering base. It was the colorways Cinderella Pumpkin, Fairy Tale Pumpkin, and White Pumpkin. So again, it starts with one color, and then it stripes in the second color, the light one, and then it goes into the third color. So just this morning, I am finished striping. So what that means is I've cut my white yarn here, and I am now going in the last section of this shawl. So it will end pretty similar to this, just with the dark color. So I'm really excited that I'm making progress with it. I love these colors so much, and her yarn is wonderful. So again, I definitely recommend this project. It is so fun. And if you have 3 special skeins that kind of go together, I mean, the pattern obviously suggests that in this case, you know, I did 2 colors with a very contrasting light color in the middle, but you could also do 2 light colors and a very contrasting dark color. But I think the extreme contrast is really what makes it shine. But oh, I can't wait to have this done. So I'm super excited about this project. Again, I will link all yarns and bags I've talked about before, their websites below. All right, so I have one more whip that I've actively been working on. And this is another one that I need to talk about. Okay, this is my V-back tee. Oh, and I just dropped the yarn. All right, so this is what I'm using my pineapple knit advent calendar for. So I talked about this last time. I have made it past the sleeves. So again, it's the V back, but I'm going to show you it because you can do this. You can wear this sweater in reverse. You can wear the V in the front or the back. So there's the V. You know, might be able to see a little bit more shape now that I have armholes. There it is. So you can see last time I was just kind of into the pinks. In fact, here's my stitch marker last time. And then you can see the pinks start going into a white with more kind of like neon green speckles, which is there throughout the whole thing. I really think Marina from Pineapple Yarn does such a great job with her gradients. I mean, because you can see those colors throughout. But yeah, I'm really excited now to kind of really see a color change here. So there's the white toward the bottom. Okay, so this is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to go into it a lot, but a few different people have asked me about this pattern because they've thought about also making this with an advent, either one that they got this year or maybe next time. I will say I've made enough sweaters now where I kind of know what to expect when I'm working top down to a sleeve separation. But this pattern is unlike any other one I've seen so far. Now maybe lots of other people have done one like that. But the beginning of the round, first of all, it makes it a little complicated. Let me see if I can find it. So here is my beginning of the round. You'll see it is right in the middle of where I sleeve separate. Okay? So that's one reason why it's different. The second reason is, this wasn't, I think a lot of people have done this sweater for Advents, but this was written for, I think, like a 5 colorway sweater. And from everything I've read, because I reread and reread and reread this section about splitting for sleeves, because I did not understand what it was trying to tell me. And I think part of the reason she does it the way she does is because of also changing colors specifically in that place. Because that's when she has you like cut the yarn and then bring in a new yarn, but in a different place, and then add stitches. Again, I'm not going to go into detail. So I really struggled with this, but I really want this top. So I kind of fudged it. Now, again, I always will have notes in my Ravelry. I'm really good about keeping Ravelry notes. But one thing that really didn't make sense to me is, again, so this is the beginning around. Now you can see that string just laying here in the middle of my sleeve. Because of where she has you do the yarn and pick up the stitches, like there was no way to ignore this that I could see. Now, please, if you have made this sweater and I am just this dumb, please tell me what I did wrong below. I did not understand how this could be. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this and then have these tiny little ends to weave in, which is a pain. But because of where I'm adding stitches and things, I couldn't see any way around it. So I just am dealing with that and just moving on with life. So basically now I'm past the sleeves and I'm just going to keep knitting, and I'm just going to have to deal with those sleeves then. So then, because I had such a hard time with that section, I really deep read the rest of the pattern because I was nervous that there was going to be something else like that as I continued on. There is short row shaping at the bottom, which again, at first glance, I don't seem to understand. Now, I'm not saying I will skip it for sure, but if I get to that section and decide that's just, I'm not doing it, then I will just skip it and just keep knitting. Because I've already done the math on like what I want to do to make all the colors fit. So, right now I'm really enjoying this. It kind of, I'll insert a picture again of the original pattern picture. Because of the stitches she has you do at each of these sleeve parts, it kind of crescents up right there. And so it looks really cool what the colors do in the sweater, and I'm still super excited to have it. But I really struggled with the sleeve separation. And you see that pretty much after I got past it, if you're like me, like after you pass the sleeve separation, it always looks so wonky there, like your knitting's gonna fall apart, those stitches, because they're loose and they don't have nothing really holding on tight to it. So I always like to get past it like an inch or so before I stop. So I made myself keep knitting to basically like an inch or so, like that. And then I was like brain dead from that part. So I haven't touched it since. But I really am enjoying the color change, and so I want to get back to it because I think there's one more color where it's a lot of whites, and then I'm gonna start getting into greens, which if you're like me, I love. See, it keeps my attention span when it's changing colors like that. So I really want to get back to it. But again, any changes I make, I will put in my project notes, and that'll be linked below in case you are curious about this pattern. So that is the V-back tee. And then, of course, because I worked on my V-back tee, I got through another color, which means I got to add another color to my giant square. You can't really tell, but if you look closely, the ones around the edge, you can see more white, more of that neon green popping through. So there's where I stopped right there. So yeah, so that is my Advent Scrappy Granny blanket. And that is pretty much all I've been working on. But I did finish 2 things. So the first thing, and this has been blocked, is my collective shawl. This is a shawl by Locatelli. This one I was able to test knit for her. It uses 1 skein of fingering weight plus a mini set. Now I did make mine a tad bit shorter. So, and this is my bad not reading the whole pattern ahead. This is why you do that. The pattern calls for 5 mini skeins. So, and I had a 5-pack mini skein colorway. I'm like, perfect. So in my 5 mini skeins, it had 3 different blues and 2 pinks. So you see, I started down here. I started with, so I did blue, pink, blue, pink, blue. Right, but I might be showing you on the wrong side. I can't really tell with brioche. So that's what I did. You'll see literally 5 bits of chevron color there. But, and then in the pattern, to make it a little longer, she has you reuse color 1 for the last one because you don't use as much for color 1. But then I would have had my 2 blues next to each other again, and I just didn't want to do it. So if I would have read ahead before I started, I would have probably started with the pink, blue, pink, blue, and then go back to the pink again. So, but that's okay. This isn't really a style of shawl I use, and I'm not really a shawl wearer. I know I just showed the other one. I do occasionally wear shawls, but I find that I wear the same, like maybe 3 shawls. And this is a really interesting construction of a shawl. I can't really spread it out here, but I will insert a picture. And I totally don't regret making it because this was my first ever brioche project and it was such good practice. I really enjoyed it. I love the finished product. And I thought, well, maybe I could gift it to someone in my life, which maybe I will. But honestly, it's just so pretty. I know like some people I've seen, they've made the Stephen West shawlography and they've just kind of made it an art piece, like hanging on their wall. And so I kind of think I want to put it up over my yarn area here and just appreciate it. Because I'm really proud of it. I really struggled with the beginning of this and then I really got my groove with it. So I love this pattern and it has motivated me to place a brioche pattern on my Make 9 for this year, which we'll get to in a little bit. So that is the collective shawl. All right, last thing I worked on is I started and finished this hat. So You see the beads on there. Another first for me, beading while knitting. I have wanted to do this for a long time and just haven't. And then my enabler Lori from Arkansas Yarn Co. posted this on her Instagram that she had these hat kits. Well, actually it was on one of her videos on her YouTube channel. And she talked about this new yarn she got in, which is Illimani yarn, and it is so good. And so she has hat kits in her store. She still has hat kits, so you can go snag one. It comes with 2 skeins of the yarn, the beads you need to do it, and then I purchased this, which is a beadle needle. So you place the beads in here, you have these stoppers, and then at the end, I doubt it's going to come up on camera, but at the end of this, there's the tiniest crochet hook that you place the beads on with, and then you knit the stitch. So this is amazing. This is not going to be for me. Originally, I was going to make it for one of the kids in my husband's family, but they're a little rough on their stuff, so I will make them another hat because this hat is super fancy and will have to be hand washed. So a friend of mine, I'm giving it to her daughter. I already warned her. It will need to be hand washed. Are you committed to doing that? Otherwise, I'm not going to gift it to her. And she said absolutely, because her little girl loves fancy things. So this is going to be right up her alley. This was so fun. Again, once I got used to the beads, and credit to Lori because she's amazing. I got the kit and she was messaging me how it was going. I could not get the first bead on there. So she sent me a video of her doing it and I still couldn't see it. So her husband filmed her close up doing it so I could get the hang of it. So talk about the best customer service ever. So yes, I made the kid size, and I don't even know if I have it here. Oh, I do have it. I did not even go through one full skein of yarn, so I could make another one. So here's what I have left of the first skein I have. And here is the yarn tag. So it's Illimani, it's Alei base, and it is made from 56% mulberry silk, 40% baby alpaca, 4% merino. So it is lovely to work with. But yeah, so I have a full skein here. Now my daughter crochets and she kind of wants to play with it because she likes the idea of making something with this. So we'll see. All right, and that is my whips, my finished objects, what I've worked on in the last 2 weeks. All right, so let's go into some acquisitions. So obviously the yarn I just talked about, I had bought that hat kit with the beads and the beadle needle. So that was my first purchase from Arkansas Yarn Co. I'm gonna bring up my bag here. Then I got quite a few other things from her. All right. So, I got some of her. This color is called Vintage Christmas Ornaments in her high twist, yummy high twist base. Now, this color, I like brights. I'm not a huge fan of red. I just don't think it looks great on me, but I will have some red things in my wardrobe. But this one didn't really speak to me when I saw it in the store. But then at knit night, I go to a knit group once a month and somebody was knitting with it. And you know how sometimes you look at a yarn in the skein and you're like, I don't know. And then you go home and you cake it up and it looks totally different. Totally different. Well, I had seen somebody working with this yarn and it was obviously caked up and it was on the table and I'm like, what is that yarn? That is gorgeous. And she's like, oh, it's vintage Christmas ornaments. I'm like, really? because I totally didn't get it. And even when I look at it right now, I mean, Lori is an amazing dyer. Don't get me wrong. Everything she does is outstanding, but it just didn't look like my jam. So I'm really excited to cake this up. So I got 2 skeins of that. And I'll talk more about my goals and my stash after this. We'll go into why I got 2 skeins and these other purchases. All right, so then Lori, another thing to know about Lori is they have a app for your phone, Arkansas Yarn Co. And when you remember that app, one, you get to purchase things on that app quicker than if you just find it on the website. Usually it's available for the app users first before you go purchase it online. Secondly, she will occasionally have sales or free shipping or something like that for app users. So go get her app. Totally worth it. I was being so good on my yarn fast for the last month. And then, you know, she had a 25% off everything. So here we are. All right, so the other 2 things I got from Lori, but this is Malabrigo yarn. So I got 1 skein. This is Aurora DK, and it's in the cyan colorway. I have some of this already for a project, but I felt like I was a little short, so I went ahead and got 1 more. And then I got 2 skeins of Malabrigo. This is the worsted base, Rios, and the Gris colorway. It's kind of like a grayish, but to me it almost looks like a denim-y gray, like a denim bluish gray. And I got this to go with a project that is on my Make 9 for the year. With some yarn I already have from Olive Yarn. This is from another yarn shop owner dyer in Texas called Olive Yarn. And I am going to make, I forgot what it is. It is a pattern by Olive Knits. Let's see. I've forgotten what it is. The Cape Creek Minimalist sweater. So the sweater, I'll put in a picture. It has very long ribbing. Kind of almost like I think of like an old school sports cardigan kind of feel. And I just thought it'd be cute to have the sweater knit in this and this be the giant ribbing next to it. So that is my plan with that yarn. And the last thing I got from Lori is some of her stitch markers. These are awesome. I mean, not only are they gorgeous, she makes them herself in the little shape of Arkansas. And her stitch holders, the clasps, are the best also. So I got these for giveaways. So let's go in, we'll get back to this. Let's get into giveaways and goals for the year. So let's talk goals first, because that'll kind of break into what the giveaway is. So I mentioned my knitting notebook last time. So I went ahead and I broke down my year in 2021. So this last year I finished 51 projects, and I broke that down into 26 pairs of socks, 8 hats, 8 garments, 2 mitts, 2 sets of dishcloths, 1 blanket, 2 sets of yarn cozies, 1 shawl, and 1 cowl. So 51 projects, and my goal was 50 for the year. So I did make that. That extra hat was my 51. It was not planned, but went really fast. I did do a Make 9 board for 2021, and I only finished 3 things on the board, which is my Point Edwards mitts, my Miss Arena sweater, and my Elton cardigan. And then the other thing I kept track of this year, this is the first year I've done this, which I find it really interesting. Okay, so my yarn in versus my yarn out. So when I'm talking about yarn in and out, I'm talking about full skeins. I'm not keeping track of mini skeins and all of that. That's just too much work. Scraps down to grams, nothing like that. So a full skein to me is a 100-gram skein or even a 50-gram skein. And the reason I count that is because when I make socks, I only need a 50-gram skein to make me a full pair of socks. So that's what I'll get a lot of. So I yarn in, whether it's from a friend, a gift, I bought it, whatever. I had 181 yarn skeins come in my life, and I had 119 go out of my life. So definitely more yarn in than yarn out, but I don't feel too terrible about that. So that kind of brings me to my goals of this year. So for goals of this year, instead of making like a generic project goal like I did for 2021, I decided to make some other goals. I'm not going to make a number for how many finished things I want, but I have a couple other goals. I did make a Make 9. I did post that on my Instagram account, and I did pick 9 items. I did 3 smaller items, and then I think the rest are all garments. And that's just kind of a loose gauge because I think this will be the 3rd year I've done the Make 9, and as I said, I only made 3 from last year. It's just kind of like a reminder. And for me, everything on my Make 9 except for one project, I already have the yarn for in my stash, put in a bag, ready to go for that project. So if I couldn't buy any yarn, I could still make all those projects. Okay, so my other goal regarding that is I want to make more garments. I did put a number on that. I would like to make 14 garments for the year. T-shirts, tank tops, cardigans, pullovers, garments. And because I have a lot of the yarn, like I said, for the projects, I'm even separating them kind of in my queue for the season. So like right now, the ones that are in the top of my queue are ones that are probably long sleeves. They're heavier weight that I don't mind having on my lap for, January and February when it's going to be colder here. But I live in the South. I live in Arkansas. And let's face it, in July, I am not putting a heavy sweater on my lap. It's not going to happen. So I've scheduled that. So my tank tops or lighter weight or linen or cotton things will be worked on in the summer. Is regarding stash. I know it's a sensitive subject. So I'm kind of having both stash and even old projects. The ones that you pushed aside and then months later, maybe a year later, still pushed aside. So I'm kind of doing like a use it or lose it mentality for that. So first of all, my old whips. I know I have at least 3 projects that have been put aside for almost a year. So that's when I need to take them out and be like, okay, for real, do I want this anymore? Because if not, it's never going to happen. There's one sweater I have that I really want, but I made a huge mistake and I knit almost the whole body of the sweater. And so it makes me so sad that I'd have to rip all that out and pretty much like start over. Like I haven't wanted to look at it because it's a cable sweater and it looks so good. But yeah, so yeah, I need to just get it out, rip it back, and just put on my big girl pants and start again because I really want it. All right, so the other thing is stash. Now, I think I mentioned last episode that I'm not going to say I'm not buying any yarn. That's crazy. We all love yarn. We love pretty yarn. But I am trying to be mindful of my purchases. Why am I buying the yarn? Am I buying it just because it's pretty? And because I want to get more into garment knitting, I find that I have all this single skein of sock yarn, but now what do I do with it? I still will make socks. The last 2 years I've been a lot of socks, but I really want to get into more garments. So knowing that about myself, now I need to buy yarn in a way where it's going to make garments, either buy a sweater purchase, which could be more yarn, or buy something that can go with those single skeins. You know, like for instance, by Hedgehog Fibers, she has a La Pouf cardigan where you're marling yarn together. So I plan on making one of those this year. So when it comes to stash yarns, I am going to start a hashtag and for a year-long giveaway. I know I barely have any followers, but what that means is you have better odds to win. So starting today is January 1st, through the whole year, anytime you use yarn from your stash, and when I say stash, I mean before this year purchasing it. So I'm even gonna, if you bought in December, it counts. But no yarn purchased in 2022. If you're using stash yarn, then when you post your picture on Instagram, use the hashtag /mystash2022mal. So I'll put that on the screen. And what I'm going to do is every single month, I'm going to give away a skein of yarn from my stash. So maybe yarn that doesn't speak to me anymore. So for the first month, for January's prize, I am going to be giving away this Woolberry Fiber Co. So this is the colorway Stress Tap Dancing. So I got this skein of yarn. I used to love mystery clubs where you didn't know where you were getting. I just loved them. The thrill of them, that you got something exclusive. And I think that that's one thing that I've gotten a lot of my stash from. And sometimes you get yarn that you adore and you can't wait to use it. But the problem with mystery clubs is a lot of times, because you don't know what you're getting or what colorway you're getting, you get something that, that's beautiful, but is not your color. And you just are like, sure, I'll put it up here and it's pretty to look at, but I'm never going to use this. So this was from a Gilmore Girls Club I did, I think, 2 years ago. It was a year-long mystery club where each quarter, it went with the new Gilmore Girls movie whenever it came out. And each quarter, you got a skein from a different dyer. It was through Indie Untangled. And you got a special stitch marker. And I just gifted all my stitch markers to Maddie from We Share Needles because she loves Gilmore Girls. But this is one of the colorways I got in that club. So you know that I just talked about, I just was working on my sock from Woolberry. This is the same, actually no, this is a different base. This is Berry Cashmere base. So this is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. So it's super soft, it's super squishy. So, and each month I'm going to be putting one of these progress keepers from Lori on the yarn. So once a month there'll be a winner with the yarn and the progress keeper. So this will be for January. /mystash 2022 mal. Crochet, knitting, whatever. So each month, please, let's participate. Let's use our stash. Doesn't mean you can't buy more yarn, but let's use what we have in our stash. So I'm really excited about this. And because for me too, you know, if you ever look in a different friend's stash or like other podcasters when they show their stash and they're like, oh, this one's okay. And you're like, oh my gosh, I love that yarn. I would use that immediately. I wanted to go to someone who thinks this is fantastic. So, you know, we just all have different tastes at different times. So hopefully that will go to a new home. All right, the last of my goals for the year, it kind of goes with old whips and hibernation, is to go back to utilizing 30 minutes a day knitting. So obviously I knit more than 30 minutes a day, but that 30 minutes a day is going to be, first of all, in the morning before I get to knit on something I want to knit. That's how it works best for me anyway. When I'm having my coffee, I put a timer on and I pick a project from my old whips, or like my husband's sweater, who wants his sweater and I don't want to work on it. 30 minutes is not that long. I mean, it's still knitting, and so it's enjoyable. And then after 30 minutes, I get to knit whatever I want. So I'm hoping to utilize that 30 minutes a day to work on those things that I'm trying to get through, whether it's, gift knitting or maybe problems like that one sweater I have to frog back. That could be part of my 30 minutes a day, is frogging that thing because I don't want to do it. So I really want to work on that a lot too. So that is my goals for 2022 as far as knitting and stitching. I mentioned the make along, the giveaway. Oh, and for right now, because shipping is crazy, the winner will have to be a US winner for right now. I'll kind of watch that and see how we progress as we go along. But for right now, just for my peace of mind that I can actually get it to somebody, right now we'll do US only for the, you can still, please post still on the hashtag, because I would love to see what everyone else is making from their stash. I love that kind of stuff. So please post that throughout the year, and I hope that we can encourage each other to use our stash. I think that's it for me this week. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I had some really great compliments, and I even had a friend and a family member who are not knitters, crocheters, crafters, who watched my podcast and gave the sweetest compliments. If you're watching again this week, you know who you are. And they meant so much to me. So I really appreciate being here, and I'm so happy to join this community and get to know you all online. Please follow me. All my links are below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.